Hello and welcome to The Pulse. After months of speculation over which way Beijing would finally declare the wind should blow, last Sunday provided little surprise. Former Chief Secretary Carrie Lam is to be Hong Kong's next chief executive. Unlike Leung Chun-ying, who won with just 689 votes in 2012, Mrs Lam managed to garner 777. Her rivals, former Financial Secretary John Tsang, had 365 votes, leaving Woo Kwok-hing with just 21. Several electors from both pro-establishment and pro-democracy camps reported that they had received calls from the Liaison Office and other middlemen familiar with the Chinese side, telling them precisely what Beijing expected them to do.
As Chief Executive, my priority will be to heal the divide and to ease the frustrations.
Carrie Lam will want to be seen as a uniter, but throughout her career, she has been no stranger to controversy. Her final position before running for Hong Kong's top government job was as Chief Secretary. In that role, she handled several controversial issues, including the signing in December last year of a cooperation agreement to site the Hong Kong Palace Museum in the West Kowloon's Cultural District. She was criticized both for lack of consultation and for bypassing government tendering procedures in hiring an architect. From 2013 to 2014, she led the Task Force on Constitutional Development. Within months, student leaders and activists launched what was to become a 79-day umbrella movement protest to fight for universal suffrage and resist the NPC Standing Committee's August 31st decision on political reform. In a dialogue with the students in October 2014, Carrie Lam once again insisted that civil nomination would contradict the basic law. When democratic legislators discovered that drinking water in some housing estates contained excessive lead, she accused them of politicizing the issue and said it was insulting to ask government officials to drink water some of them had deemed safe. Carrie Lam worked as a civil servant from 1980 to 2007. When she left to take on a principal official role as Secretary for Development. In that post, she faced more controversy over the demolition of Queen's Pier, government handling of the small house policy in the new territories, and the urban renewal strategy. She says one 3-year role left a particular mark on her.
Well, with us in the studio, convener of Path of Democracy, Ronny Tong, and former Assistant Director of Social Welfare, Rachel Cartland. Rachel Cartland, can I come to you first, because you've in fact worked with Carrie Lam for quite a long time. Are what people say about her true? Does she listen? Is she a collegiate person?
I think in a way that what came across in the campaign was probably quite accurate. Carrie has enormous strengths. She's extremely hardworking. She's tremendously diligent. She's highly intelligent. Those are all the positives. The negatives are, as we've seen in the campaign, that unfortunately she's a bit stiff. She doesn't have that easy sociability that we saw with John Tsang. And I think because she's always been such a clever, able, hard-working person, it's a little bit difficult for her to sympathize or empathize with those who are not as clever, diligent, and so on as herself.
And Ronny Tong, I mean, you're one of the people outside of the pro-government camp who was quite supportive of her.
Yeah, in fact, I only got to know her since she became the Secretary for Civil Service. I agree with Rachel. I mean, she's not a funny person. She's my impression of her is very cool, very businesslike. But I can see that she has undergone a little bit of transformation during the campaign. She learned to smile a lot, and that's a huge difference.
You know,
you can
some
see
of the other things that
differences.
came out in the campaign, I mean, she gets criticised online by people and says, this is the white terror.
I don't quite understand that, actually. She's not very careful with what she said. I think it's more down to she was still living with the mentality of a civil servant rather than a politician. In that, I think John Tsang has got into his role as a politician much earlier and much deeper than Carrie ever does. I only hope that in the years to come or the months to come that she would begin to learn to become more of a politician.
But let me just ask you, Rachel Cartland, I mean, one of the main criticisms of Carrie Lam is, you know, she says on the one hand she wants to be inclusive, she's open to listening. Did you actually find that that was the case, the listening bit?
I think it's difficult for her because I think she is somebody, as I say, has always been the super top pupil at school. She can master all the facts, she can out-argue, outthink almost anybody. So it is a little bit difficult for her to listen to people whom she considers have already made the wrong decisions, come to the wrong conclusions. So that's where, as Ron is suggesting, she's really got to learn. And I agree with Ronny that I think there has been difference in the campaign. It's been, I would suspect, a massive learning experience. If we look at sort of other comparable political figures, I see her as a little bit like Theresa May, having rather similar sort of background and it seems personality. But of course, Theresa May has had to go through the hurly-burly of politics to be abused in Parliament and so on. And that's, in a way...
And she's had to fight re-elections.
Exactly, and that's where you really learn how to do these things. And I think it is difficult for people, of course, to put up with abuse, but it's something that you really have to accept in a society like Hong Kong, which tries to be quasi-democratic. You've got to accept that other people have got different points of view, that sometimes they'll be unfair, but you've got to just take it and not react, and especially not use your power or influence or whatever to clamp down on opponents.
If you go to my webpage, you see that I receive a lot of abuse every day, not much less than Carrie Lam. But as I say, I tend to put it down as to her civil service mentality, because as a civil servant, she probably reckoned that the first job she needs to do is to do the policies well, to finish the work.
Well, let me just stop you there. I mean, what do you think? I mean, you've been in politics. What do you think are the priorities?
Well, I think the priorities is that people need to be seen to be able to contribute towards the formulation of a policy. The more important the policy is, the more it is that their views has got to be taken on board.
And the policies themselves, what do you think are the real priorities
obviously, the policies themselves have got to reach over a wide spectrum of people who may benefit from it. I think the major difference between being a chief executive and a civil servant is a civil servant carry out the work that he or she is asked to do. But as a chief executive, he's got to decide, at the very beginning, what is to be done and how is to be done in a way which allow people to think that they would truly benefit from it and that their views have been taken on board.
Can I just ask you, I mean, one of the things that a lot of people in politics say is, when you come into office, you do the difficult things first, because you'll never have another opportunity. Carrie Lam has actually already said, oh no, when I come into office, I'm going to do the easy things first. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think there's a good argument for doing, as you've said, the difficult things first. Not for the reason that you say, but I suspect she may have quite a honeymoon with Beijing. You know, I mean, she had this tremendous support from Beijing. And we saw it, say, with C.H. Tong, that at the beginning, he could actually have made a lot more headway because he had loads of support from Beijing. So I hope that, even if not overtly, behind the scenes at least, she is going to do what she said she won't do and keep pressing to reopen the dialogue, say, on political reform. And so I think she's got a lot of political capital up in the north, and she should make use of it.
I think that's a very pragmatic way of doing things. She certainly is not having any honeymoon period with the people of Hong Kong. In fact, over the last few days, I have heard through the grapevine that the way she distanced herself with the Liaison Office is already causing some, I wouldn't say concern, but unhappiness, in the pro-Beijing camp, and in particular with some of the Beijing officials. So you can see the difficult task that she is facing. On the one hand, she tried to make sure that she would not behave the same way as CY Leung would be behaving if CY Leung were to be re-elected. On the other hand, she's walking a very thin rope. It's between the views of Hong Kong people and the views of Beijing officials.
One of the things that Mrs. Lam has said is, that the Liaison Office should not be interfering in more so-called domestic things concerning Hong Kong. Do you think that's actually a plausible position?
I think it'd certainly be a very popular position with the people of Hong Kong. And if she's got the strength to stand with it, I think she'll garner a lot of support within the community.
I think she's testing the temperature of the water, and so far, I think is working, at least so far. And how far it can go, I'm not sure. We just have to wait and see.
And Beijing, as we know, wants above all to see Hong Kong stable and united. So if they feel that Carrie could do it, they'll maybe give her more rope.
Well, let's see how that pans out. Both of you, thank you very much indeed. And we'll be back after the break. See you then. Welcome back. Carrie Lam may have received 88 more small circle votes than her predecessor, Leung Chun-ying, but according to most, opinion polls should be taking up her position with a much lower popularity rating than Mr Leung when he came into office. One reason is that she was running against a considerably more popular opponent. Given that Beijing representatives had made their preferences pretty clear, the insistence on installing Mrs Lam has been interpreted as a sign of a continued hardline stance towards Hong Kong. That impression intensified when the day after the election, the police arrested and charged 3 main leaders of and 6 key participants in the 2014 Occupy Central movement. And that wasn't the only sensitive post-election development. The Registration and Electoral Office also revealed that on Sunday, 2 laptop computers, at least one of which contained personal data of all Hong Kong voters, had been stolen.
Within hours of Hong Kong discovering who is to be its next chief executive, 3 leaders and 6 key participants involved in the 2014 Occupy movement were arrested on charges relating to their roles in the 79-day demonstration. On Thursday, they appeared in court. 3 of those who had proposed the idea of Occupy Central, Benny Tai, Chen Ki-men and Reverend Zhu Yuming, each faced 3 charges: conspiracy to cause public nuisance, inciting others to cause public nuisance, and inciting people to incite others to cause public nuisance. Also facing the incitement charges are legislators Tanya Chen and Siu Ka-chen, former student leaders Tommy Cheung and Chung Yu-wah, as well as the vice chairman of League of Social Democrats, Ravel Wong. Former legislator Lee Wing-tat is also facing 1 charge of inciting others to commit public nuisance. The nature of the charges, which are rarely sought, surprised some in the legal profession who had expected the activists to be charged with public order offences carrying considerably shorter sentences. Each charge, if tried in the district court, can carry a maximum sentence of 7 years in jail.
With this case, I can understand why they chose conspiracy to commit public nuisance or inciting others to commit public nuisance over unlawful assembly. For this time, there isn't a specific incident within these 79 days, but rather it applies to the entire 79 days. So in that case, the choice of this charge not only reflects, the fact that the prosecution is focusing on the entire 79 days, and also it is a reflection on the severity of the conduct in their view, because they are trying to attach criminal liability not just for a particular incident during the 79 days, but for the entire 79 days.
There are criticisms that the arrests, a day after Chief Executive-elect Carrie Lam pledged to unite a divided society, effectively throw political landmines in her path, and will further polarize society. But those charged say that they do plan to uphold the spirit of civil disobedience. Legislator Nathan Law, who participated in the Occupy movement as the former Secretary General of the Hong Kong Federation of Students, is convinced the incoming administration will most likely continue its hardline approach. He says the timing of the arrests is a clear sign of political considerations in play.
過去我哋針對住呢啲政治事件呢，多數都係會用非法集結。咁我之前926衝入公民廣場嗰單都係用非法集結。咁但係佢今次就用呢個公眾妨擾罪，過去非常之少案例，亦都係好少類似事件係會用呢一個罪名去控告。咁所以當中背後一定有一啲特別嘅考慮，而我相信政治考慮個原因係居多啦。我相信今次嘅政治檢控係唔會打沉咗一眾被檢控嘅人嘅，佢哋反而係會借住呢個機會，再一次同公眾講我哋嘅出發點係好良善，我哋行使緊我哋嘅權利。
On 26 November 2014, then Police Superintendent Franklin Chu Keng Wai was recorded on video using a baton to direct pedestrians in Mongkok. One of them, Osman Jiang Chonghang, later filed a complaint of assault. On Monday, the former police commander was arrested by appointment to face one count of assault, occasioning actual bodily harm. Ju pleaded not guilty at the West Kowloon Magistracy on Friday morning. Mr. Jiang's lawyer Jonathan Mann says the complaints against Police Office, CAPO, and the Independent Police Complaints Council could have sped up the process.
呢個係一個好簡單嘅一個案件嚟嘅，證據亦都唔需要有一個好大嘅搜證嘅困難。咁點解會一個小小嘅一個事都會令到咁耐呢？咁就好容易令人咧就覺得好多坊間都有人講話，喂咁警察投訴科投訴都冇用㗎啦，或者警察人自己人查自己人，咁唔想有呢個錯誤嘅印象咧，其實一個快速同埋一個簡便啲嘅一個方向咧係需要嘅。
A day after the chief executive election, the Registration and Electoral Office, or REO, reported that 2 of its laptop computers had been taken from the backup venue, the Asia World Expo. One laptop contains names of election committee members, the other contains the identity card numbers, names and addresses of over 3 million registered voters. It's a particular embarrassment given that the government had previously warned the public about threat to privacy if they voted in the civil referendum led by Occupy Central co-founder Benny Tai. Some IT experts share REO's view that existing multiple encryptions in the laptops would be very hard to break through. Others charge that this could be the largest electronic data loss incident in Hong Kong's history.
In general, organizations are using up to a standard encryption technology, like AES, which is a well-proven technology, has been stress tested globally by very experienced cryptographers. And it is used by governments and organizations around the world. We won't suspect any organization not using it.
其實你睇翻嗰份 guideline 咧，其實好清楚列明，如果你要運送一啲硬盤，甚至係一啲裝咗 sensitive data 嘅，佢要放喺一個叫 bulletproof 嘅盒裏邊，有一個保安員24小時去睇住呢件。咁我諗呢個 practice 係好 normal 嘅 practice， 我唔知可唔可以叫 norm 添啦。咁但係我哋見到今次就冇咗呢啲嘢咯。
Worried about a large-scale data breach following the disappearances of the 2 laptops, Mr. Van also warns service hotline providers to upgrade security questions to protect their clients.
如果我係黑客，我可能試幾次，我都已經可以拼湊到一個 list。咁所以我諗開始呢啲熱線服務供應商佢哋要諗一諗自己嗰個問題，可能要加啲心機啦，或者喺呢一段時間更加要即係 sensitive 啲啦。
Lawmaker Dennis Kwok tried to raise an urgent question on the matter in Legislative Council on Tuesday. His request was rejected by the LegCo president. Mr. Kwok says he heard from Raymond Tam, Secretary of Constitutional and Mainland Affairs, that the police consider the case suspicious and there is reason to believe it is not just a case of pure theft. The bureau head has agreed to attend a special Constitutional Affairs panel meeting to clear the air.
what we need to get to the bottom of is how could such a data breach happen, and why these people, whoever they may be, targeted these two computers, and why they got information about these two computers containing such important information. So what was the motivation behind the stealing of these two computers? And what did the police know and suspect at this moment? Could it be politically motivated?
我再一次代表選舉事務處向全港受影響嘅選民同埋市民，因為呢件事所帶嚟嘅困擾同埋不安呢，係致以衷心嘅歉意嘅。呢件事件本身呢個案情係特別嚴重嘅。由於係涉及到喺一個上鎖嘅房間裏邊係唔見咗兩部電腦，唔單止係電腦嘅損失，而喺電腦裏邊有一啲嘅資料啦咁所以咧就警方係唔排除任何嘅可能性。
There is no doubt that John Tsang's election campaign was more impressive and media savvy than that of Carrie Lam. 2 days before Election Day, thousands showed up at his rally in the open area of Edinburgh Place. However, in this kind of election, the public remain firmly on the sidelines. But as ever, we'll be doing our best to make sense of what's happening on the front lines, not least next week. We'll be back then. See you. Goodbye.